that I was telling myself that had been, conditioned and pounded into me through discernment, questioning, asking questions, taking things apart, thinking things through to the end, and never settling for just the first answer you come to.
Here's something that might surprise you. Studies show that up to 40% of adults experienced emotional neglect in childhood, yet most don't even realize it. It's like an invisible epidemic hiding in plain sight.
That's such a striking statistic. And what's fascinating to Paxton and I is how many people carry these wounds without having words to describe them.
Exactly. The research shows emotional neglect isn't about what happened to you. It's about what didn't happen. Think about it like a garden. You can have the best soil and plenty of water, but without sunlight, nothing grows properly.
So you're saying someone could have all their material needs met, but still experience this painful and profound emotional void?
Precisely. Recent studies in neuroscience show that emotional neglect actually changes brain structure, particularly in regions responsible for self-worth and emotional regulation. It's why about 60% of people who experience childhood emotional neglect report difficulty identifying their feelings in adulthood.
Wow, Sean, that really puts it into perspective. How do experts suggest people begin recognizing these patterns?
Well, psychologists have identified several key markers. There's what they call the empty self syndrome, where people feel disconnected from their own emotions. Then there's chronic self-doubt, difficulty setting boundaries, and what's fascinating, an almost allergic reaction to asking for help.
You know what's interesting about that last point? It seems counterintuitive that someone who needed more support would resist seeking it.
That's the paradox of emotional neglect. Research shows these individuals often develop what psychologists call toxic self-reliance. They've learned so thoroughly that their needs won't be met. They stop acknowledging they have needs at all.
That must create quite a challenge for a healthy emotional lifestyle.
It does. But here's where the science gets encouraging. Studies on neuroplasticity show our brains can form new emotional pathways well into adulthood. One study found that consistent emotional validation exercises actually increased grey matter density in areas related to self-awareness.
Those findings about brain plasticity are remarkable. What does the recovery process typically look like?
The latest therapeutic approaches focus on what's called emotional archaeology, carefully uncovering and examining these buried patterns. About 75% of people who engage in targeted emotional neglect therapy report significant improvement within 6 months.
That's quite promising. What specific techniques have shown the most success?
The data points to 3 main approaches: mindfulness-based emotional awareness training, attachment-focused therapy, and something called reparenting work. But here's what's really interesting. The single biggest predictor of healing isn't the specific technique used, it's the consistency of practice.
Almost like building an emotional muscle that never got developed before.
Exactly right. And research shows it takes about 66 days to form new emotional habits. That's why therapists often recommend starting with small daily practices, like spending just 5 minutes checking in with your feelings.
How does this connect to broader relationship patterns?
Studies show people who experienced emotional neglect are 60% more likely to struggle with intimate relationships. But here's the hopeful part. They're also more likely to develop deeper emotional awareness once they start healing, because they're learning these skills consciously rather than automatically.
That's fascinating. The very thing that caused pain becomes a source of strength.
And that's supported by research. A longitudinal study found that people who successfully worked through emotional neglect often developed above-average emotional intelligence. They became what researchers call earned secures, people who've consciously developed emotional security.
So there's real hope for transformation.
Absolutely. The science shows our emotional systems remain flexible throughout life. One study found that even people in their 70s showed significant improvement in emotional regulation after targeted intervention.
What would you say is the most important thing for our subscribers and viewers to understand about this journey?
The research is crystal clear. Healing happens in layers. It's not about becoming a different person, but about reconnecting with parts of yourself that had to go dormant for survival. And here's what's remarkable. Studies show that understanding the science behind emotional neglect often accelerates healing by up to 40%.
That makes sense. Knowing there's a biological basis helps remove the shame.
Exactly. And that's perhaps the most important finding of all. Shame actually inhibits the neural pathways necessary for emotional healing. Understanding that these patterns were adaptive responses, not personal failings, creates the safety needed for sustainable and real change.
That's really powerful. Thank you, Sean, for joining Paxton and I on New Attitude TV Streaming Network. Any final thoughts on this journey?
Thank you both for the invite, Jessica. Cool channel you got here. Yes, the research shows that while emotional neglect might be common, affecting nearly half the population in some form, it's not destiny. With understanding and consistent effort, people can develop the emotional connections they never had. It's never too late to create what psychologists call earned secure attachment.
That was good. That was good.
At New Attitude Streaming Network, we believe in you rebuilding your life, especially after surviving narcissistic abuse. If this message speaks to your heart, join our membership, donate to support our content, grab a piece of our merch to wear your healing with pride. Every dollar goes directly into empowering this TV programming and building a peaceful, safer, and more grounded community. For all of us. Tap the links below, tag someone who needs this today, and remember, you are not alone. This is NATV. This is your new attitude. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching.